Face reality, people. Movies are dead. Games are dead. Narrative? Dead.
Media is nothing but neural trigger response and viral conditioning.
Wait, what are you two talking about?
Okay. Just finished the show Maniac for Johnny Come Latelys. I think I watched like maybe episode 1 or 2 back then, but didn't follow through with it. But now I kind of did. I miss a decent amount, like parts of the show too. Whatever. But I feel like I have an overall gist. Once again, subject to change, subject to corrections, yada yada yada. It's not a bad show at all. Not bad at all. And I think there was a point to it. I think they were actually aiming at something. More so in the psychological realm, which, you know, as I said before, like that is woo-woo to me. But they also like dog whistled some woo-woo-woo-woo, if you will. You know, certain terms and phrases and Gnostic gospels and, you know, shit like that. But if you wanted to surmise maybe the show of like what would be the point of watching it, there's definitely ideas about dealing with trauma. I think that's why Owen gets stuck, right? Even his his kind of his psychological turmoil, I think, is actually maybe trauma based. Whether it's something dramatic like the way Annie with her sister and all that happens. Maybe like that, or maybe just maybe the way people treat other people, or treat people around them, or treat maybe animals around them. Who knows? You know, that could be more of Owen's thing. But yeah, I think the overall thing they're trying to aim at, I think, is dealing with psychological trauma. I think. And to me, it's not the greatest job. I like shows or ideas where they lean hard into it, like really lean into it and take you to this place that isn't so safe. To where if you're going through psychological trauma, you don't get a happy ending. You don't feel good at the end. Not necessarily. I think you should feel good at the end of what I would consider like a really good version of that. But they don't just like kind of waltz you into a happy ending. It's more of something you might walk away with after watching it. And there are movies like that. I truly believe. I think Inception is a good example of that. Right? Even the ending of that, is Leo leaving with a happy ending, or is it another illusion or another dream, if you will? Also dealing with the trauma of Cillian Murphy's character, right? Like, I think there's better versions of an artist trying to showcase dealing with psychological trauma. Although this is not bad. This is not bad, right? They take pieces of the main characters, like kind of like their main storyline lives, and they riddle it throughout their experience dealing with these ABC pills and the whole Gertie or Greta machine. They kind of scatter it and show how these guys like deal with those problems, right? I'm like, okay, that's not horrible at all. I think that's pretty cool, actually, pretty beautiful. But for me personally, I feel like I've seen better versions of that, in my opinion, my humble opinion. But it's still solid. I think it's still solid. I'm going to 2,000,000% recommend this. As a TV show, 2,000,000% recommend. And my grade for the show? Once again, do not trust my opinion on this, even though I just gave you a whole review. Do not trust my opinion, though. Because I miss decent parts of the show. Not gonna lie. But what I walk away with, just my sense of what I've seen and where it leads me to. As a TV show, I think this is a solid 7.9 in that territory. 7.9, 8. As far as my personal interest level, the topics they're trying to tackle in the show, the use of abstraction, which still pulls you to the kind of grounded level idea that the show's trying to go with, is there. I think that's all there. And once again, like obviously you have, uh, even though it's very abstract, so the acting isn't such a thing, but comically there's some good acting, I guess. But like the acting isn't as big of a thing. Although, you know, someone like Emma Stone can still be a savage, right? Uh, but yeah, I think it's a solid show all around, and they have that thread that I look for in works of art. They actually have the thread there. So yeah, 7.98 out of 10 for me. Once again, I'll probably have to rewatch this again because, granted, my total amount of missed time is probably like 10 minutes total for an entire season, but that's enough for me to be like, I didn't see the complete picture for my OCD. So that's where that's coming from. It wasn't like I missed like 4 or 5 episodes. I missed like 10 minutes probably total of the entire show, but that's enough for me to be like, I didn't see the whole thing. So it needs to be rewatched. So this is my intuitive sense of what I got from watching the parts I watched, and I say like 7.98. That's a good show, and definitely they're aiming for something, and that is worthwhile on its own. That's why it's 2,000,000% recommended. Uh, Anyone else? Would they like to share their ideas about this show called Maniac, starring Jonah Hill and Emma Stone? God.
Yeah, I think it was I think it was a fun show, and the way that they displayed the mind, I liked because it frees you from the rules of reality, right? Like the normal things. Like they were able to play several characters, um,
Hmm.
and there's things that you could see that's different in their mind, or at least the biggest thing that stood out to me about how Jonah's character sees himself when it's a dream. um he's always very confident and in what's the real world. You could see that they intentionally took that away from him. um just that's his character. And but at the end, like, even though Emma mainly interacted with that, like in the dreams, like that's where she got to know him. She ended up saying that in the real world, what she said that, but I know you. Like she knows, because she knows basically his mind. Basically, she knows like what he's actually like, and
Yeah.
even in his dreams, and he's like those those dreams are supposed to represent like how you think or what's going on. So she really did know him, and most of the show was about dealing with things
Yeah.
or coping. So it's like
Yeah.
a funny way to say it, but like just dealing with reality, dealing with problems. And parts of it were mother issues. So they it was
With the scientists.
very with the scientists, but it
Also Emma
it's very
Stone.
much um yeah. Yeah, they just they leaned into a lot of psychological themes, which
Yep.
which I found really interesting. Like I like that they brought these topics up. Um, yeah, so I just really enjoyed those things. Um, I was in the way that they showed, well, sometimes played with reality. It Most of it was just in whether it's a dream, whether it's not a dream, and he's even woken up from a dream and it was still in a dream. They did that once, that I can remember. Um, so it wasn't. They didn't go crazy with it. Sometimes you can do. You could bring that to much more levels. Um,
Yeah.
and um, and they mostly kept it within the dream world. And what they did do that was maybe beyond that was I guess you would just call it an AI with the mother.
Yeah.
And in that thing, they were basically saying that it had a personality, it had emotions, and it was. I mean, in a computer sense, it was alive, right? Like it at least behaved as if it was alive.
It was
So
his image of his mother, I think, would be the,
yeah, it was.
I guess, the
Yeah,
definition of what the fuck that thing was. Yeah.
it was. Yeah, it was based on his mother. It looked like his mother within the thing.
They even had a sit
Uh,
down, right? The actual mom, and then the simulated mom had like a sit down conversation too, which is kind of funny and interesting at the same time.
the, the machine was a therapist.
Yeah.
The machine was a therapist based on his mother, who was a therapist,
Yeah.
and and this is the part where she tells him, like, you chose to go into this profession, like, like this was your his own doing, just getting involved in this. Like there's so much attachment.
Yeah. You're blinding me with love. Stop it.
Blinding me with love. Did he say like he mentioned the moment you said something about Norman? Like I think he said he was like she would go into
Sneak into
bed
his
with him.
bed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like too often.
Yeah.
Yeah, all these
Or
things that
maybe mom
uh
had attachment issues as well. Maybe.
yeah,
I don't think we
yeah.
got. I don't think we got the true answer for that. But that if they're trying to work in the realm of psychology, maybe that's a thing that the show is going towards. So I'll just leave that there
I
as like
think so.
interpretation, at least.
I think so. And if you relate it to Norman, like there was definitely a two-way. Um, it was different, but it was like one attachment led to another attachment.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so I thought there was a lot of themes there that were really fun for me to see. I was expecting maybe some kind of different thing, like to keep it into a less grounded ending,
Yeah.
um, most of my attention, like the ending, kind of was just like an ending. So most of my attention is to the rest of the
Yeah.
the season, because that's where I think they really just played with things, and so yeah, I enjoyed the show.
Okay. Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. Uh, it's just like okay, when I watch like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, their ending is open ended as far as like we don't know what the fuck happens. We can kind of guess, but we don't really know either. But the themes that are brought throughout the end, it's more like the the roller coaster is more important than the end of the ride, if you will. Like that's like the journey is the thing that you're watching for. Less less so than the conclusion. Although Mr. and Mrs. Smith's conclusion was, I think, pretty very well done in my opinion. The last episode, I think, is their best episode, which is how you want to end things. This show, I don't think their last episode was their best episode. I think it, but it did give you like a conclusion for sure, and gave you a feeling, a feel good, if you will. Granted, I like to lean more towards maybe darker ideas. I don't know. It's just me, but it's still a conclusion. They don't leave you hanging, and it does wrap up the show. Like everything that was brought up throughout the journey is wrapped up here at the end. I truly believe. Uh, so I say kudos to them. Kudos to them. It's just maybe my own personal take, or I need to rewatch it and dig more into it. But my own personal take, at the very least, is like I want an extravaganza as an ending. Like I really want this show to be capped straight up. That's just my own personal take, though. So this does not pull away from what I did see quality throughout the entire show. I saw quality that makes it worth it, and I have to hardcore recommend this fucking show from beginning to end. I have to hardcore recommend it. So I say kudos to the creators and the actors, everyone involved. All done. All right. Anything else before I end this review? Going once, going twice. Alright, sold. Alright, there's your review for Maniac. What is this from? What's this fucking show from? 2021, right? 2018. Jesus. Break my life. Maniac from 2018, starring Jonah Hill and Emma Stone. And Julia Gardner. Ah. Here's a review.